Hello and welcome to the Sleep Science Space. Tonight, our journey turns inward toward the vast and quietly mysterious landscape of your own mind. Together, we'll explore some of the most intriguing discoveries psychology has revealed gentle truths about memory perception and the subtle patterns that guide our thoughts without us ever noticing. Some of these insights are soft and familiar, like how a single scent can suddenly return you to a moment from long ago. Others are more surprising, such as the way your brain can begin making decisions before you're even aware a choice exists. Each one opens a small window into the hidden workings of the mind, a place that is often stranger, deeper, and more beautiful than we expect. Tonight is not about effort or analysis. It's a quiet walk through a collection of mental curiosities and psychological insights. We'll pass through moments where time seems to stretch or compress, where emotions subtly reshape what we perceive, and where thoughts can travel between people without a single word being spoken. You may find yourself drifting towards sleep or simply letting these ideas settle gently in the background. If you enjoy these calm explorations and would like to join us again, you're welcome to like and subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. But for now, there's nothing you need to do. Get comfortable, let your breathing slow, allow your thoughts to soften, and let the quiet wonder of your own mind wash over you as we begin. Many people find that honesty comes more easily late at night. As the day fades, mental filters often grow weaker. Fatigue lowers inhibition, and the careful self monitoring we use during the day begins to relax. In these late hours, people may speak more openly, revealing thoughts they might keep guarded in brighter, busier moments. This doesn't mean nighttime words are always pure truth, but psychologists suggest that reduced cognitive control combined with the calm, intimate atmosphere of night can encourage openness. There are fewer distractions. The light is dimmer. The world feels quieter. In that stillness, conversations often drift into more personal territory, sometimes deepening emotional connection. It's a feeling many recognize, words flowing more freely after dark, as if the mind has loosened its grip and returned to a more natural rhythm. Thoughts that stayed hidden during the day gently step into the open. At the same time, modern habits can quietly work against our memory. Multitasking, though it feels productive, often makes memories less reliable. The brain's attention system is designed to focus on one thing at a time. When we divide it, information must compete for limited mental resources. As a result, memories formed during multitasking are often thinner and less detailed. Important pieces may never be stored at all. Checking messages while listening to someone speak, for example, can lead to forgetting much of what they said. The brain may register the moment, but it fails to fully encode it. In these quiet nighttime hours, when distractions fade and focus returns, the mind often works more gently and more clearly. Attention narrows, thoughts slow, and memory freed from constant interruption can settle more deeply. And as you rest here now, you can simply notice that calm. There's no need to remember anything perfectly. Just let the ideas pass through one by one, as softly as thoughts drifting through a half remembered dream. Research suggests that people who multitask frequently may slowly lose the ability to filter out what doesn't matter. Over time, the mind becomes less selective, allowing irrelevant information to slip in and crowd attention. Multitasking feels productive because it creates the sensation of doing more, but the brain forms richer, clearer memories when it is allowed to rest on one thing at a time. In a world that constantly demands switching and speed, choosing to move slowly can feel like a quiet act of resistance, one that your memory and focus quietly reward. Human touch holds a surprising power over pain. A hand resting gently on your shoulder or fingers interlaced with someone you trust can do more than offer comfort. It can actually change how the brain interprets pain signals. Physical touch activates sensory pathways that compete with pain, softening its intensity. At the same time, it releases oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding safety and reduced stress. In one study, couples who held hands during a painful task not only reported feeling less discomfort, but their brain activity began to align. Their neural rhythms moved together as if their nervous systems were sharing the burden. This suggests that touch does more than soothe emotions. It can create a shared physiological calm. In moments of distress, a gentle touch becomes both a shield and an anchor, quietly reminding the body that it does not face discomfort alone. Smell, too, shapes behavior in ways we rarely notice. Scents often bypass conscious thought, traveling directly to brain regions linked to emotion and memory. Because of this shortcut, smells can influence mood and decisions without ever entering awareness. Experiments show that pleasant background scents can subtly increase generosity or spending, while the smell of cleaning products can nudge people to tidy their surroundings. These effects work because scent primes associations. Lavender may signal calm and safety. Citrus may suggest energy and freshness. We like to think of our choices as logical and deliberate, yet invisible sensory cues are constantly whispering suggestions. Becoming aware of this quiet influence doesn't remove it, but it gives us a gentle distance from it, a reminder that not all decisions begin in conscious thought. Even sleep is shaped by belief. In an intriguing psychological effect, people who are told they slept well often feel more alert and perform better the next day, even when their actual sleep was average. In one study, participants who believed their sleep quality was above normal showed improved focus and mood regardless of objective measurements. This phenomenon, sometimes called placebo sleep, reveals how expectation can shape experience. The brain uses belief as a shortcut, adjusting energy, motivation, and attention based on what it thinks the body has received. Of course, real sleep is essential for health and cannot be replaced by belief alone. But this effect shows that rest is not only physical. Part of it lives in the story we tell ourselves about recovery, safety, and readiness. Many people have also felt the strange sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness that someone's gaze has landed on you, followed by the moment you turn and confirm it. Science has not fully explained this feeling, but some researchers believe it arises from subtle, unconscious cues. A shift in light, a change in movement, at the edge of vision, a faint sound. Signals too small to notice consciously, yet enough to alert the brain. Humans evolved in social environments where detecting attention mattered. Knowing when eyes were on you could mean safety, danger, or opportunity. Over time, the brain became finely tuned to these cues. What feels like intuition may simply be perception operating below awareness, quietly scanning the world even while the conscious mind rests. And as you lie here now listening without effort, you don't need to analyze any of this. Let these ideas drift through your thoughts like soft clouds passing across the night sky. There's nothing to decide, nothing to remember perfectly. Just allow the mind to wander gently, knowing that even when you rest, it continues its quiet, remarkable work. Whether it comes from subtle perception or a deeper instinct, that sudden sense of being watched can feel surprisingly strong. It often prompts action before conscious thought has time to respond, a quiet signal rising from older layers of the mind. Long before words or logic step in, the body notices first, guided by patterns shaped over countless generations. In a similar way, body language can reveal emotions we haven't fully admitted to ourselves. The way you sit, the tension in your shoulders, the small movements of your hands or face often express feelings before they reach awareness. Crossed arms may reflect defensiveness. A slight change in posture can signal discomfort or interest. Even tone of voice can carry emotional weight that words try to hide. Psychologists note that these signals are often easier for others to notice than for ourselves. They act like an external mirror, reflecting inner states we may not yet recognize. Becoming gently aware of your own body language can reveal hidden stress, excitement, or attraction. Paying attention to others' nonverbal cues can deepen empathy, allowing you to sense what's felt but not spoken. This silent language flows alongside speech, and at times it speaks more honestly than words ever could. Smell has a special power to unlock memories that seemed long forgotten. The sense of smell is deeply wired into the brain's emotional and memory centers. Unlike sight or sound, scent bypasses much of the brain's usual processing and travels straight to the limbic system, where feelings and long term memories live. This is why a trace of perfume, rain on warm pavement, or a familiar meal can suddenly pull you backward in time. These scent evoked memories often arrive fully formed, rich with emotion and detail, even if decades have passed. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as the Proust effect, inspired by the writer who described tasting a small cake and being instantly transported to his childhood. Moments like these remind us that memory is not neatly stored away. The mind is more like a landscape, and the senses are keys that quietly open doors we thought were locked. Lucid dreaming offers another glimpse into the mind's creative depth. In a lucid dream, you become aware that you are dreaming, and with that awareness, some people find they can influence the dream itself. They describe flying, exploring impossible places, or reshaping the dream as it unfolds. Researchers believe lucid dreams occur when regions of the brain linked to self awareness briefly awaken while the dream state continues. For some, these dreams happen spontaneously. Others practice techniques like reality checks or keeping dream journals to increase their chances. Studies even suggest that skills rehearsed during lucid dreams can translate into improved performance when awake. But beyond any practical use, lucid dreaming reveals something more profound. The mind is capable of generating entire worlds filled with sensation, emotion, and narrative. In those inner landscapes, you are both the traveler and the creator moving through realities formed entirely within your own awareness. The mind also has a curious way of holding on to what is unfinished. Tasks left incomplete tend to linger in memory more strongly than those brought to a close. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. When something remains unresolved, the brain keeps it active, as if waiting for a conclusion. This is why an unfinished project, an unanswered message, or a half told story can quietly return to your thoughts again and again. Once the task is completed, the mind often releases it, allowing attention to drift elsewhere. This tendency may have once helped humans remember important goals, but in modern life, it can also create mental noise. As you rest now, there's no need to resolve anything. Unfinished thoughts can be set gently aside. The mind does not need closure tonight. It only needs permission to soften, to loosen its grip, and to let the quiet take over. This open loop in the mind evolved as a useful tool. It helped our ancestors remember what still needed attention. But in modern life, it can quietly follow us into the night. Unfinished tasks replay themselves, conversations resurface, the mind gently tugs at loose threads. Psychologists believe this happens because unresolved activities create a low level of mental tension, a signal that something remains incomplete. Completing the task releases that tension, allowing the mind to let go. This is also why writing a simple to-do list can feel surprisingly soothing. By placing the task on paper, you signal to the brain that it has been acknowledged. It no longer needs to hold it in constant awareness. In daily life, this effect can motivate action, but it can also become a source of stress. Used gently, it helps organize thought. Left unchecked, it can keep the mind restless. Tonight, there is nothing that needs finishing. Everything important can wait. Gratitude offers another quiet way to ease the nervous system. Feeling thankful is not just a pleasant emotion, it produces real changes in the body. Research shows that people who regularly reflect on gratitude tend to have lower levels of cortisol, the hormone associated with stress. Simple practices like recalling positive moments before sleep or keeping a gratitude journal can increase activity in brain regions linked to empathy, contentment, and emotional balance. These changes are not merely psychological, they ripple through the body, supporting immune function, improving sleep quality, and even benefiting heart health. Gratitude gently shifts attention away from what feels missing and toward what feels safe and sufficient. In doing so, it signals the body that it can relax. A single grateful thought held quietly can move through the nervous system like a slow, calming wave. The mind is also influenced by words it barely notices. Sometimes messages slip beneath conscious awareness and still shape how we feel. Psychologists call this subliminal priming. Very brief or subtle stimuli, too faint to be consciously recognized, can still influence mood, judgment, or behavior. In experiments, words flashed for only milliseconds have altered how people later evaluated neutral images. While real world effects are gentler than popular myths, suggest they reveal something important. Conscious awareness is only part of perception. Beneath it, the brain is constantly scanning the environment, filtering information, and forming impressions. Most of these never rise into conscious thought, yet they can quietly tilt decisions, color emotions, and leave us with feelings that seem to appear from nowhere. Soft whispers from the edge of awareness. Music has a particularly powerful connection to memory. A song from years ago can instantly return you to a specific place, a familiar face, or a long forgotten emotion. Music engages many regions of the brain at once, including areas involved in movement, emotion, and memory. Melody, rhythm, and lyrics combine to form a rich mental signature. When that same song plays again, the brain reactivates the original network and the emotions return with it. In people with memory loss or Alzheimer's disease, familiar music can sometimes awaken moments of clarity. Lyrics emerge when words otherwise remain unreachable. Music acts as a bridge, bypassing damaged pathways and reaching places memory alone cannot. It reminds us that experiences are rarely lost. They often remain stored, waiting patiently for the right sound to bring them back. Optimism, too, has measurable effects on the body. Hope and positive expectation are not only comforting ideas. Studies suggest they can support healing. Optimistic individuals often recover more quickly from illness or surgery and may respond better to certain treatments. Positive outlooks are linked to lower inflammation and healthier stress responses. This doesn't mean optimism replaces medicine, but it shows that belief and expectation shape how the body mobilizes its resources. When the mind anticipates recovery, the body often follows. Hope becomes a quiet ally supporting resilience at levels we rarely notice. And as you rest now, you don't need to cultivate optimism or gratitude or resolve unfinished loops. Simply allowing these ideas to pass through your awareness is enough. The mind knows how to settle when given permission. Let the thoughts drift, soften, and fade. Nothing but needs your attention. Everything can wait. Optimism seems to soften the body's stress response in subtle but meaningful ways. It doesn't mean denying hardship or pretending everything is fine. Rather, it reflects an inner expectation that challenges can be faced and that the future still holds room for improvement. Psychologists suggest this outlook helps people stay engaged with recovery, follow medical guidance more steadily, and maintain the emotional endurance required for healing. While the body quietly repairs itself, cell by cell, the mind's expectations appear to influence how well those systems function. Hope becomes a kind of invisible support, moving gently through every breath and heartbeat, nudging the body toward balance rather than strain. Our brains also show a strong bias towards social information. People tend to remember gossip more easily than neutral facts. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. Early humans lived in close knit groups where knowing who could be trusted mattered deeply. Remembering stories about others' behavior helped protect the group and avoid danger. Studies show that people recall information about dishonesty or social rule breaking more vividly than neutral details like appearance or location. Gossip activates networks in the brain devoted to social reasoning, drawing attention, and strengthening memory. While gossip can certainly cause harm, it may also serve a protective role, reinforcing social norms. Today, this ancient tendency reveals itself in how rumors spread faster than ordinary news. Whether shared around a fire long ago or through screens today, stories about people endure because the brain is deeply tuned to the behavior of others. Deja vu offers another glimpse into the mind's inner workings. That sudden, unsettling feeling that a moment has happened before remains difficult to explain. One leading theory suggests it arises when the brain's recognition system briefly misfires, generating a false sense of familiarity. A new experience may resemble stored patterns from the past closely enough to trigger recognition, even though no specific memory can be recalled. Brain imaging studies point toward regions involved in memory processing, particularly within the temporal lobe. For most people, deja vu is brief and harmless, fading as quickly as it appears. Yet, in that instant, reality seems layered. The present moment feels overlaid with an echo of the past. It reminds us that perception is not a flawless recording, but an interpretation assembled in real time. Nervousness often reveals itself through speech. When anxiety rises, people tend to speak faster. This is part of the body's fight or flight response. Heart rate increases, breathing quickens, and the brain shifts into a state of urgency. Thoughts surge forward, and speech struggles to keep pace. This can lead to rushed sentences, fewer pauses, or stumbling over words. In social settings, rapid speech can spread tension as emotional states ripple subtly between people, but awareness of this pattern can be calming. Intentionally slowing speech sends signals back to the nervous system, helping the body settle. As the body calms, the mind often follows. In this way, speech becomes not only a reflection of inner state, but a gentle tool for guiding it. Despite all that science has uncovered, much of the brain remains unexplored. Neuroscience has mapped structures, traced electrical signals, and observed networks of activity. Yet the deeper questions remain. How does subjective experience arise from physical tissue? Why do some memories feel vivid while others fade? What gives rise to the sense of self? Some regions of the brain still have no clearly defined function. The networks connecting them are more intricate than any machine humans have created. With each discovery, new questions emerge, revealing how little of this inner universe we truly understand. The brain is like a vast ocean. We've studied its surface currents and mapped a few familiar shores, but its deepest regions remain dark and unmapped, and in the quiet moments between thoughts that mystery becomes personal. The mind is not just something we study, it is something we live inside every waking moment and every dream filled night. Most of what passes through your mind today has likely visited you before. Studies suggest that a large portion of our daily thoughts are repetitions of yesterday's concerns, habits, and familiar reflections replayed with small variations. This mental recycling helps the brain maintain stability and predictability, conserving energy by traveling along pathways it already knows well. The brain is designed for efficiency. Reusing established neural routes requires far less effort than creating new ones, but this same efficiency can quietly trap us in old patterns. When we intentionally introduce novelty by learning something unfamiliar, visiting new places, or even changing a small routine like walking a different route, the mind is gently nudged out of autopilot. Fresh experiences stimulate new connections, often bringing a subtle sense of aliveness. Most of the time, our thoughts follow well worn trails, but occasionally stepping off those paths reveals unexplored inner landscapes we didn't know were there. Yawning offers a quiet example of how deeply connected we are to one another. A single yawn can spread through a room without a word spoken, jumping from face to face almost automatically. This effect isn't limited to humans. Chimpanzees, dogs, and even certain birds have been observed yawning in response to others. Psychologists believe this contagious quality is linked to empathy and social attunement. We instinctively mirror the states of those around us. In people, yawns are more likely to spread between individuals who share closeness or trust, while yawning helps regulate brain temperature and alertness. Its social spread may serve another purpose, subtly synchronizing the group. A shared yawn becomes a small, wordless signal of connection, a reminder that bodies and minds often move together without conscious effort. Hypnosis reveals just how flexible perception can be. Under hypnosis, some people experience reduced pain or even a complete absence of it during situations that would normally cause discomfort. Brain imaging shows that hypnosis can alter activity in regions that interpret pain, changing not the physical signal itself, but how the brain understands it. This technique has been used in medical settings, including dental procedures and pain management, though it doesn't affect everyone equally. Psychologists describe hypnosis as a state of focused attention and heightened responsiveness where suggestion can guide perception. It isn't magic, it's the brain demonstrating its ability to reinterpret experience. Pain in this light is not just a signal from the body, but a conversation between nerves, brain, and awareness. And sometimes awareness can change the tone of that conversation. Writing about emotions can quietly support both mental and physical health. Expressive writing, placing thoughts and feelings onto a page, has been linked to reduced stress, improved immune function, and better mood. Psychologists believe this works because writing helps organize emotional experiences. Vague sensations become clearer ideas, giving the brain something it can process and release. There's no need for polished sentences or perfect structure. The value lies in honesty. When emotions are given words, they often lose some of their weight. The page becomes a safe place to hold what feels overwhelming. Over time, this practice can untangle inner knots, making complex feelings more understandable and easier to carry. We tend to remember feelings more vividly than facts. Human memory is deeply shaped by emotion. Moments charged with joy, fear, sadness, or excitement often stay with us longer than neutral details. This emotional tagging helps the brain mark what matters, but it also means that memory isn't a perfect recording. In situations like eyewitness accounts, the emotional intensity of an event can reshape how it's remembered, sometimes blurring factual accuracy. Yet this emotional memory also serves a purpose. Remembering how something felt helps preserve meaning values and relationships. When we look back, we often revisit emotions first, with facts appearing later, scattered like landmarks along the way. Even small physical actions can influence focus. Chewing gum, for example, has been shown in some studies to improve concentration and alertness. The rhythmic motion may increase blood flow to the brain or help maintain a steady level of arousal, keeping attention from drifting. While the effect is modest, it highlights a larger truth. The mind and body are not separate systems. Simple movements can subtly shape mental states. Together, these quiet patterns remind us that the mind is not a static thing. It is fluid, responsive, and deeply intertwined with sensation, habit, and emotion. Much of what guides our inner life happens gently beneath awareness. And in noticing these small truths, we begin to understand the mind not as a machine to control, but as a landscape to move through with curiosity and care. What looks like a small, almost automatic habit can quietly influence the mind. Chewing gum, for example, has been linked to slight increases in focus and alertness. The steady, repetitive motion appears to boost blood flow to the brain, while the act of chewing itself may activate regions involved in attention and memory. Some studies suggest modest improvements on tasks that require sustained concentration, particularly when people chew mint or peppermint flavored gum. The effect is gentle rather than dramatic, but that may be why it has been used for so long. Students during exams, drivers on long roads, and even soldiers in extended operations have relied on it as a subtle aid. Researchers also note that chewing gum may lower stress hormones like cortisol, offering a calm, steadying influence. In moments when attention begins to wander, this simple action can serve as a quiet anchor, guiding the mind back without effort or strain. Memory, too, follows its own quiet patterns. Psychologists have long observed that we tend to remember the beginning and the end of an experience more clearly than what comes in between. This is known as the primacy and recency effects. Early information receives more attention and rehearsal, while the most recent moments remain vivid in short term memory. Together, they frame our recollections. This pattern shows up everywhere. We recall the opening lines of a conversation, the final moments of a trip, or the closing words of a story more easily than the middle sections. When learning something new, placing important ideas at the start or end of a study session can help them last longer. In many ways, the mind treats experience like a narrative, with the first and final scenes glowing most brightly while the middle fades more softly into the background. Our perception of the world is also less complete than it feels. Change blindness reveals how easily the brain can miss alterations happening right before our eyes. When attention is briefly diverted, even large changes in a scene can go unnoticed. In experiments, people look away for a moment and fail to see that objects or people have changed entirely when they look back. This happens because attention is selective. The brain cannot process every detail at once, so it fills in gaps using expectations and prior knowledge. In everyday life, This explains why we might not notice furniture being moved or why a familiar face can change without us immediately realizing it. Perception isn't a perfect recording, it's a carefully assembled impression stitched together so smoothly that the missing pieces rarely reveal themselves. Even our expressions can influence how we feel. Smiling, even when it doesn't come naturally, can gently shift emotional state. This idea, known as the facial feedback hypothesis, suggests that facial muscles send signals back to the brain. When those muscles form a smile, the brain responds by releasing small amounts of mood related chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. The change may be subtle, but it can soften tension. The opposite can also occur. Holding a frown or tight expression may reinforce stress or irritation. This is why some meditation practices encourage a relaxed, almost invisible smile. Not forced, just present. It reflects a deeper truth. The mind and body constantly communicate, and sometimes a small change in posture or expression can open the door to a calmer inner state. Attraction, too, is shaped by forces we rarely notice. It often feels like a conscious decision, but much of what draws us to another person begins below awareness. The balance of facial features, the rhythm of a voice posture movement, even subtle scent cues can activate responses rooted in biology and past experience. These signals are processed quickly and quietly long before logic steps in. What we call chemistry is often the brain recognizing patterns it has learned to associate with comfort, safety, or interest. We may not know why someone feels familiar or compelling, but the subconscious mind is already at work weighing countless details in the background. Attraction, like many mental experiences, is less a choice than a quiet convergence of hidden signals. Taken together, these small insights reveal something gentle and reassuring. The mind is not driven only by deliberate thought. Much of its work happens softly beneath awareness through habits, sensations, and subtle cues. And in understanding these quiet processes, we don't gain control so much as compassion. A sense of ease with the way the mind naturally moves, settles, and responds as the day fades into rest. Evolutionary psychologists suggest that many of our preferences are quietly shaped by signals linked to health, vitality, and compatibility. At the same time, culture and personal history leave deep imprints of their own. The subconscious blends all of this together into a seamless impression. A familiar laugh may echo someone who once made you feel safe. A certain hairstyle might stir memories of a person you loved long ago. These associations form silently often before conscious reasoning has time to respond, creating that sudden sense of connection we call chemistry. Attraction, then, is neither purely instinct nor purely choice. It is a subtle dialogue between ancient patterns carried through generations and the unique experiences that shaped your life. Long before you realize it, your attention has already leaned in a certain direction, guided by a quiet intelligence beneath awareness. There are moments when the mind enters a different rhythm altogether, in what psychologists call a flow state. Concentration feels effortless. Self consciousness fades, and time seems to stretch or collapse. Artists absorbed in painting athletes moving in perfect sync, or scientists lost in problem solving, often describe hours passing like minutes, yet they emerge feeling refreshed rather than exhausted. Flow tends to arise when challenge and skill are in balance. The task is engaging enough to demand full attention, but not so difficult that it triggers stress. During these moments, activity in the brain's self monitoring regions softens, allowing awareness and action to merge. Flow is not just peak performance, it is a deeply satisfying state where the mind moves smoothly unbroken, like water following a natural path. Technology, too, is beginning to reshape how we experience the world. Researchers have shown that the brain can learn to interpret entirely new streams of information, effectively creating additional senses. Devices that convert invisible data, such as magnetic fields or distance, into vibrations or pressure, can over time become intuitive to the user. For example, a wearable that gently signals direction can eventually give someone a natural sense of orientation, similar to how migratory animals navigate. These experiments highlight the brain's remarkable flexibility. Neuroplasticity allows new inputs to be woven into perception until they feel familiar, almost native. While still experimental, such tools hint at a future where humans might sense heat, ultraviolet light, or environmental chemistry, directly expanding perception far beyond its original boundaries. At the heart of this adaptability lies learning itself. Every time you acquire a new skill or idea, the physical structure of your brain shifts. Neural connections strengthen, new pathways form, and networks reorganize. This process, known as synaptic plasticity, means the brain is never fixed. It is continuously reshaped by experience. Brain imaging studies show that activities like learning a language, practicing music, or mastering a new movement can alter the size and connectivity of specific regions. While these changes occur most rapidly in childhood, they continue throughout adulthood. Learning is not limited by age. Each repetition deepens the path like footsteps slowly turning grass into a trail. Even your emotional state can quietly shape what you perceive. Mood does not simply color thought, it can alter how the world appears visually. When you feel anxious or sad, faces may seem less friendly, environments more closed or dim. When you are calm or joyful, the same surroundings can appear brighter, more open, more welcoming. This happens because emotion influences how the brain processes sensory input. What you see is filtered through how you feel. Perception is not a passive recording of reality, but an active interpretation shaped by inner state. In this way, the mind is not merely observing the world, it is continuously participating in its creation moment by moment, feeling by feeling. Research has shown that emotional states quietly reshape the way we see the world. When the mind is calm and uplifted, people tend to notice finer details and perceive a richer range of colors. Attention broadens, allowing subtle cues and gentle patterns to stand out. In contrast, anxiety narrows perception. The brain shifts into a protective mode, scanning for possible threats, often overlooking neutral or reassuring signals. This happens because mood directly influences the brain's attention systems, adjusting which sensory information is prioritized and which is filtered out. A peaceful state can make a sunset appear more vibrant and expansive, while fear can cause a dim street to feel darker and more constricting than it truly is. Perception, then, is not a fixed window onto reality. It is a living process shaped moment by moment by the mind's internal climate. Change the mood and the world itself subtly changes with it blurring the boundary between inner experience and outer environment. Human behavior is shaped just as quietly in moments of urgency. In emergency situations, people are often more likely to help when they are the only witness. When others are present, responsibility tends to dissolve into the crowd, a phenomenon psychologists call the bystander effect. Each person assumes that someone else will step forward, and as a result, no one does. This pattern has been observed repeatedly from staged emergencies to simple everyday situations like dropped belongings. The larger the group, the weaker the sense of individual obligation becomes. Yet awareness changes everything. People who understand this effect are more likely to act regardless of how many others are nearby. In moments when help is needed, waiting for someone else can be the greatest obstacle. Sometimes the person meant to respond is simply the one who noticed. Even without words or visible gestures, emotional states can ripple between people. When someone is under stress, their body releases subtle chemical signals through sweat. These compounds, though usually unnoticed, can be detected by others' brains. Studies show that exposure to stress related scents activates regions associated with empathy and vigilance, increasing alertness or unease in those nearby. This suggests that stress can spread silently through a group, not only through tone of voice or facial expression, but through the air itself. From an evolutionary perspective, this likely helped groups respond quickly to danger. In modern life, it means tension can pass from person to person without anyone realizing why the room feels heavy. But this works both ways. Calm states can spread too. By steadying your own nervous system, you may gently influence the emotional atmosphere around you in ways felt more than understood. Nostalgia offers another example of the mind's influence over the body. Remembering cherished moments does more than stir emotion. It can create a physical sense of warmth. Experiments have found that recalling meaningful memories can increase perceived body temperature and reduce feelings of cold. The brain links social connection with physical comfort, both rooted in safety and belonging. This may explain reminding memories often surface during colder months, as if the mind instinctively reaches for internal warmth. A familiar song, an old photograph, or the scent of a favorite dish can wrap the body in a subtle sense of comfort, like stepping into a remembered shelter. In this way, the past becomes a source of quiet regulation, offering warmth not just to the heart, but to the skin. Fear, too, can travel between people without direct experience. You do not need to face danger yourself to feel its echo. Watching another person react with fear can be enough to trigger a similar response in your own body. The brain contains mirror systems that simulate others' emotions, allowing us to learn about threats indirectly. In laboratory studies, individuals who observe someone expressing fear toward an object later showed fear responses themselves even without ever encountering the threat. This mechanism likely evolved to keep us safe, teaching caution through observation rather than harm. But it also reveals how deeply connected human nervous systems are. Emotions move between us silently, shaping behavior and perception long before conscious thought steps in. This ability likely evolved to keep us safe by allowing us to learn from the experiences of others without facing danger ourselves. In everyday life, it means fear can spread through a group, almost instantly shaping behavior before a single word is spoken. Just as calm can quietly pass from person to person, alarm can do the same. This makes emotional awareness a subtle but powerful force, capable of influencing the shared atmosphere of a room without anyone fully realizing how it began. Authority has an equally powerful effect on human behavior. In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram revealed something unsettling about obedience. His experiments showed that ordinary people, when instructed by an authority figure, were willing to carry out actions they believed were causing serious harm to others. Social pressure and the presence of perceived authority were often enough to override personal morals. Though controversial, these findings have echoed through many real world settings, from military structures to workplace hierarchies. The effect arises from a deep rooted tendency to trust experts and shift responsibility onto those giving orders. Yet awareness matters. Understanding this influence can strengthen resistance and restore personal agency. Moral courage often begins in moments when someone chooses to step out of the shadow of authority and reclaim responsibility for their own actions, even when obedience feels expected. Your eyes also carry ancient systems designed for survival. While central vision excels at detail and clarity, peripheral vision is far more sensitive to motion. This is because the outer regions of the retina contain rod cells, which are especially good at detecting movement and changes in low contrast conditions. Long ago, this helped our ancestors notice threats or opportunities at the edge of awareness. Today, it explains why you might sense movement beside you before you consciously turn your head. The brain is constantly scanning the margins, maintaining an early warning system that operates quietly in the background. Even now, in modern environments, this ancient watchfulness remains on duty, alert, and ready. How we record information also shapes how well we remember it. Writing by hand engages the brain in a richer way than typing. It combines fine motor movement, visual attention, and spatial organization, creating a deeper imprint of information. Studies show that people who take handwritten notes often remember ideas more effectively, even if they write fewer words. This is because handwriting naturally slows the process, encouraging summarization and understanding rather than simple transcription. Each written stroke becomes a physical act of learning, helping ideas settle more firmly into memory. While typing is efficient, handwriting turns learning into a more deliberate, mindful experience, one that leaves traces not just on paper, but in the brain itself. The body can also gently influence emotion. Even without genuine happiness, forming a smile can nudge the brain toward a lighter state. Facial muscles send feedback signals that affect emotional processing, subtly encouraging the release of chemicals linked to positive mood. In experiments, people who unknowingly activated smiling muscles found things more amusing than those whose faces formed a frown. This isn't about forcing cheerfulness. It's about using small physical cues that the brain interprets as signs of safety. Over time, this quiet feedback loop can become a gentle tool for softening difficult moments. The brain is astonishingly fast at forming impressions. Research shows that we judge faces in less than a tenth of a second, deciding almost instantly whether someone appears trustworthy, competent, or friendly. These snap judgments arise from ancient survival systems that once helped assess danger or alliance in an instant. Regions like the amygdala process facial information before conscious thought can intervene. While these impressions are often consistent across people, they are not always accurate. They are shaped by past experiences and learned assumptions. Still, this rapid assessment reveals how much of the mind continues to operate on instincts formed long before modern life, when a single glance could alter fate. Even the suggestion of being observed can change behavior. Simply displaying images of eyes in a space has been shown to increase honesty and generosity, such as higher donations near collection boxes. The brain responds as if it is being watched, triggering social accountability. This reaction reflects our evolutionary past, when reputation within a group was vital for survival. Interestingly, the eyes don't need to be realistic. Even abstract or stylized images can produce the effect. It's a quiet reminder that deep social instincts still guide behavior, turning simple symbols into powerful signals. Despite this sensitivity, we often overestimate how much others are paying attention to us. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. We tend to believe our actions, appearance, or mistakes are far more noticeable than they truly are. In reality, most people are absorbed in their own inner worlds. Understanding this can be deeply freeing. The imagined spotlight is usually dimmer than we think, and in that realization, the mind can relax, releasing unnecessary self consciousness and allowing us to move through the world with a little more ease. Because of this bias, even small moments can feel exaggerated. A slight stumble on the sidewalk, a word spoken incorrectly, a brief awkward pause can seem far more visible than they truly are. In reality, most people are absorbed in their own thoughts, worries, and inner narratives. This illusion comes from the way we experience life, from the center of our own perspective. Since we are always present in our own story, it feels natural to assume others are watching us with the same intensity. Recognizing the spotlight effect can be quietly liberating. When we understand that most attention is turned inward, not outward, our minor missteps lose their power. We begin to move through the world with less tension, lighter and freer, no longer performing for an audience that exists mostly in our imagination. The placebo effect reveals just how powerful belief can be, even when we know the truth. It may sound paradoxical, but research shows that a placebo, a treatment with no active ingredients, can still produce real changes even when people are fully aware that it is not medicine. In these cases, simply understanding that the body can respond to expectation seems to be enough. Pain may lessen, mood may improve, and physical symptoms may ease. Psychologists believe this happens through a combination of expectation and learned associations. The ritual of care, taking a pill following instructions, trusting the process, can activate internal healing systems in the brain and body. This open label placebo effect highlights how deeply connected mind and biology truly are. Sometimes knowing how healing works does not weaken it. Awareness itself can become part of the remedy. When we look back on our lives, we often remember feelings more clearly than facts. Think of an important moment from your past. The emotion may come back instantly: excitement, sadness, embarrassment, or relief, while the exact details remain fuzzy. This happens because emotions are processed in brain regions closely tied to memory, making them easier to retrieve than precise sequences of events. Emotion acts like a highlighter, marking experiences as meaningful. While this helps guide future choices, it can also distort accuracy. Two people can share the same event and remember it differently, each shaped by their own emotional lens. In the narrative of memory, feelings often carry the story, while details quietly fade into the background. Forgetting, surprisingly, plays a vital role in mental health. It is easy to think of forgetting as a failure, but it is actually one of the brain's essential skills. The mind is constantly flooded with information, and holding on to everything would be overwhelming. Letting go of less useful memories helps create space for what matters now. Psychologists suggest that forgetting allows us to extract meaning from experience rather than becoming trapped in unnecessary detail. It also protects us from outdated information interfering with new learning. In this way, forgetting is like careful pruning, trimming away what no longer serves growth. Far from weakness, it is one of the mind's quiet strategies for clarity, flexibility, and focus. The brain's ability to adapt is perhaps most striking in how it interprets the world. In classic experiments, people wore special lenses that flipped their vision upside down. At first, the experience was deeply disorienting. Simple movements became difficult and the world felt wrong. But after several days, something remarkable happened. The brain adjusted. Objects began to feel upright again, even though the image entering the eyes was still inverted. The mind had reorganized perception to make sense of the new input. This adaptation reveals the brain's extraordinary flexibility. What feels fixed and obvious, like the orientation of the world, is actually an active construction, one that the brain can quietly rewrite when necessary. This flexibility is a clear example of neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable capacity to reshape itself in response to experience. When the inverted glasses were finally removed, the world felt strange, once more briefly flipped again until the brain adjusted yet another time. This simple experiment reveals something profound. Perception is not a passive recording of reality. It is an active process constantly updated and refined by the brain. Even concepts we take for granted, like up and down, are not absolute. They are learned, maintained, and quietly recalibrated as our nervous system adapts to new information. When people make decisions together, the outcome can shift in unexpected ways. In certain situations, groups tend to take greater risks than individuals would on their own, a tendency known as group polarization. As ideas circulate, shared excitement can grow, reinforcing bold viewpoints while softening awareness of potential consequences. This effect appears in many settings, from corporate boardrooms to social movements. Group discussion can be powerful, drawing strength from shared perspective, but it can also tilt toward excess when harmony becomes more important than caution. Recognizing this pattern allows groups to slow down, invite disagreement, and create space for reflection. The collective mind can be wise, but only when balance is preserved. Optical illusions offer a quiet lesson in how the brain constructs reality. They work not because our eyes fail, but because the brain predicts what it expects to see. It fills in gaps, smooths edges, and interprets patterns based on past experience. When those predictions conflict with incoming sensory data, the result can be images that seem to move, bend, or hide what is plainly there. Illusions expose the shortcuts the brain relies on to make sense of the world quickly and efficiently. Most of the time, these shortcuts serve us well, but they remind us that perception is not an exact mirror of the external world. It is a personal rendering shaped by memory, context, and expectation. Laughter plays a deeper role than simple amusement. It acts as a form of emotional training, helping the nervous system recover from stress. When we laugh, the brain releases chemicals that reduce tension and promote well being, creating a state that makes resilience easier to access. Shared laughter, in particular, strengthens social bonds, weaving invisible threads of connection that support us during difficult times. Over repeated moments, laughter teaches the body how to return to balance more quickly after strain. In this way, joy becomes a resource stored quietly within us, something we carry forward and draw upon when challenges arise. A sense of purpose appears to shape not only how we live, but how long we live. Studies suggest that people who feel their lives have meaning tend to experience better health and longer lifespans. Purpose provides direction, encouraging habits that support the body and mind. It can lower stress, strengthen relationships, and even influence biological markers linked to inflammation and heart health. This sense of meaning does not need to be dramatic or world changing. It can be found in caring for others, creating something meaningful, or simply feeling connected to a larger whole. Purpose, in its quiet forms, gives structure to time and gently anchors us through the passing years. Purpose does not need to be grand to be powerful. It can be as simple as caring for the people you love, nurturing a creative interest, or offering your time to a community. When the mind has something meaningful to move toward, it acts like a quiet compass, guiding decisions and sustaining emotional balance. During difficult periods, purpose can become a steady glow in the distance, not demanding speed or perfection, only gentle forward motion. Step by step, day by day, it gives the mind a reason to continue, even when the path feels uncertain. Deep inside the brain, there is a system devoted almost entirely to recognizing faces. Within the temporal lobe lies a region known as the fusiform face area, a network so specialized that it can identify familiar faces in a fraction of a second, even in crowded or dim conditions. When this area is disrupted, a rare condition called face blindness can occur. People with this condition can see eyes, noses, and mouths clearly, yet struggle to recognize even close family members. This ability evolved for a reason. Reading faces allows us to detect emotion, build trust, and navigate social bonds. Interestingly, this system is flexible. With familiarity, it can also adapt to recognize other meaningful patterns, a beloved pet's markings, or a frequently seen object. It reflects the brain's deep priority for connection and recognition, quietly helping us orient ourselves in a social world. Meditation does more than calm the mind. Over time, it can reshape the brain itself. Brain imaging studies show that regular meditation is associated with increased thickness in regions linked to attention, self regulation, and decision making. Changes are also observed in the hippocampus, involved in memory and learning, while the amygdala, the brain's alarm center for fear and stress, often becomes less reactive. These shifts are signs of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself in response to repeated experience. Even brief daily practices can begin to influence neural pathways, strengthening emotional balance and mental clarity. In a fast and noisy world, meditation offers a way to gently remodel the mind from within, building stillness into the brain's structure itself. Under certain conditions, people can experience a striking shift in perspective, feeling as though they have stepped outside their own bodies. These out of body sensations have been reported during near death experiences, deep meditative states, intense stress, or targeted brain stimulation. Neuroscientists link them to temporary disruptions in how the brain integrates sensory information, particularly in a region that helps anchor the sense of self to the body. Though usually brief, these experiences can feel vivid and transformative, sometimes leaving lasting changes in how people view identity and existence. Whether interpreted as neurological phenomena or something more symbolic, they reveal how the sense of self is not fixed but actively constructed by the brain, capable of loosening and drifting under the right conditions. Subtle influences can shape behavior without ever entering conscious awareness. This process, known as priming, occurs when exposure to certain words, images, or ideas quietly nudges later through thoughts and actions. A simple cue can activate associations in the brain, gently steering decisions without announcing itself. Most of the time, these effects are small, but they reveal an important truth. Much of what guides behavior happens beneath the surface in layers of processing that operate silently and efficiently. The mind is always listening, always preparing, even when we believe we are fully in control. When certain ideas pass briefly through the mind, they can quietly shape what comes next. Simply encountering words associated with courtesy can make people interrupt less, while subtle references to aging have been shown to slow walking speed, all without conscious awareness. This happens because the brain leans on recently activated concepts as mental shortcuts, gently steering perception and behavior. These influences are usually temporary, but they reveal just how responsive the mind is to its surroundings. Every room, every sound, every phrase we encounter helps set the tone for how we think and act, often without announcing itself. Awareness of this sensitivity can help us design environments that encourage calm focus and care instead of letting them form us by accident. Kindness carries effects that reach beyond emotion and into the body itself. Acts of generosity and care have been linked to lower stress levels, healthier blood pressure, and stronger immune responses. When we help others, the brain releases oxytocin, a chemical associated with bonding and trust, which also supports cardiovascular health and reduces inflammation. Even small gestures, a smile, a moment of patience, a helping hand, can set these processes in motion. Over time, kindness can become a reinforcing loop. Feeling better makes us more inclined to help again, quietly nourishing both giver and receiver. In this way, compassion becomes more than a moral choice. It becomes a gentle form of self care woven into daily life. The way you hold your body can subtly guide the way you feel. Upright posture can increase alertness and a sense of stability, while slumping forward may deepen fatigue or low mood. This connection works through continuous feedback between body and brain. Posture influences breathing hormone release and nervous system activity. When the chest is open and the shoulders are relaxed, breath flows more freely, sending signals of safety and readiness. Small physical adjustments, sitting taller, easing tension in the neck, allowing the head to lift, can quietly shift the mind toward clarity. In many ways, the body prepares the stage upon which the mind's story unfolds. Trauma can leave lasting wounds, yet in some cases it also becomes a turning point for growth. This process, known as post traumatic growth, describes how certain individuals develop deeper resilience, empathy, or purpose following hardship. This does not mean that pain was necessary or beneficial, only that the human mind can sometimes transform adversity into strength. Psychologists note areas of growth that may follow, including closer relationships, a renewed appreciation for life, and clearer personal values. Often, this change emerges through meaning making, weaving difficult experiences into a broader understanding of one's life. Not everyone follows this path, and healing is never linear. But for some, resilience grows slowly, like roots deepening after a storm, invisible at first, yet quietly reshaping the future. Stress does not always need words to travel. It can move quietly from one person to another through subtle signals. A tightened jaw, shallow breathing, a strained tone of voice. Simply being near someone who is tense can activate similar stress responses in the observer's brain. Our nervous systems are naturally tuned to one another, a form of emotional attunement rooted in empathy and survival. Long ago, sensing fear or urgency in others helped groups respond quickly to danger. Today, that same sensitivity means anxiety can ripple through a room without anyone saying a word. But this process works both ways. Calm can spread just as easily. A steady presence, relaxed posture, or gentle voice can soften tension around it. In this way, regulating our own stress becomes more than personal care. It becomes a quiescent influence that shapes the emotional climate we share with others. When a person is the only witness to someone in need, they are often more likely to help. With no one else present, responsibility feels clear and immediate. There is no hesitation, no assumption that another person will step in. This stands in contrast to situations involving crowds where the bystander effect can take hold and action is delayed as responsibility diffuses. Psychologists suggest this response reflects our evolutionary past. In small groups, each individual mattered, and waiting could be costly. Even now, when we find ourselves alone in such moments, the impulse to act can feel instinctive and personal. It's a reminder that meaningful help often begins with a single person choosing to respond. Human connection is also shaped by a subtle dance of imitation. Without realizing it, we often mirror the movements, posture, or speech patterns of those we feel comfortable with. This phenomenon, known as the chameleon effect, helps create rapport and trust. When two people fall into a shared rhythm, leaning forward together or matching each other's pace of speech, it signals understanding and alignment. Therapists use this naturally to build safety, and skilled communicators rely on it to ease cooperation. When mirroring happens organically, it feels effortless and sincere. At its core, it's the body's quiet way of saying, I'm here, with you two nervous systems gently synchronizing without the need for explanation. Learning something new leaves a physical imprint on the brain. Each skill acquired, whether it's preparing a new dish, practicing a language, or mastering an instrument, reshapes neural pathways. This process, called neuroplasticity, allows the brain to adapt and reorganize itself throughout life. With repeated practice, connections strengthen and new ones form like trails gradually carved into a landscape by frequent footsteps. Brain imaging studies show that sustained learning can even increase the size and efficiency of certain regions. These changes don't happen overnight, but they accumulate quietly, becoming part of the brain's evolving structure. What makes this especially powerful is that it doesn't end with youth. The capacity to learn and change remains with us, a lifelong invitation to grow. Even small shifts in how we learn can influence how well information spaced with us. Changing where you study, moving from one room to another, or altering the environment slightly can improve memory retention. This works because the brain links information not only to content, but also to context. New surroundings create additional cues that help anchor memories, making them easier to retrieve later. In a gentle way, variety keeps the mind engaged, preventing learning from blending into a single, indistinct background. Sometimes, a simple change of place is enough to help knowledge to settle more deeply, giving it a clearer home in memory. Learning in different surroundings can help memories take root more deeply. Each environment leaves its own subtle signature on the mind. Variations in light, sound, smell, and atmosphere become quiet markers that the brain links to what you are learning. Later, when you try to remember the information, these multiple cues offer several pathways back to it. Studying in a quiet room one day, a library another, or even outdoors can enrich the mental network surrounding the material. Psychologists have found this approach especially useful for exam preparation and presentations. The principle extends beyond studying. Practicing any skill in varied settings can make it more flexible and resilient. By gently breaking routine, you give the brain more threads to weave into memory, forming a pattern that holds together more strongly over time. Sharing knowledge with others also strengthens your own understanding. When you explain an idea, you're forced to organize it clearly, choose precise language, and consider questions you might be asked. This process deepens learning a phenomenon psychologists sometimes call the teaching effect. In teaching, the brain actively retrieves and reshapes information, reinforcing the neural connections that support it. Even preparing to teach has benefits as it pushes the mind to engage with material in a more deliberate way. This works for practical skills too. Showing someone how to cook a meal or use a tool reinforces both memory and muscle coordination. Teaching turns knowledge from something abstract into something lived, anchoring it more firmly in the mind. Not all fears are learned through experience. Some appear to be inherited, shaped by evolution. Humans and other primates tend to develop fears of things like snakes, spiders, or heights more easily than fears of neutral objects. Evolutionary psychologists believe these reactions once offered a survival advantage, helping ancestors avoid danger quickly. Experiments show that people acquire fear responses to these threats faster than to harmless stimuli. Even though modern life has reduced many of these risks, the underlying sensitivity remains. These instinctive reactions are echoes from a distant past, reminders that parts of the mind are still tuned for survival in a much older world. Trying to do many things at once may feel efficient, but it often weakens memory. When attention is split, the brain struggles to fully encode details, leading to vaguer recall later. Multitasking also increases the chance of confusion, where information is remembered without context or source. Over time, frequent task switching can train the mind to skim rather than settle, making deep focus harder to sustain. Psychologists often suggest monotasking instead, giving one activity full attention for a period of time. When the mind is allowed to rest on a single task, memories form with greater clarity and strength, and learning becomes quieter, steadier, and more complete. While modern life constantly pulls our attention in many directions at once, the mind works best when it is allowed to settle on a single stream of thought. When focus is deep and unbroken, ideas are woven more securely into memory forming connections that last. Multitasking may feel efficient on the surface, but true mental clarity often comes from lingering with one thing long enough for it to fully take shape. Our experience of time is far more flexible than we realize. Time is not perceived by the brain as a steady march of seconds, but as something shaped by attention, emotion, and novelty. In moments of danger or intense concentration, time can seem to slow down as the brain captures more detail in each instant. In contrast, familiar routines can blur together, making hours or even days feel as if they disappear unnoticed. This is why childhood often feels expansive and endless, filled with new experiences, while adulthood can feel as though time accelerates. Psychologists suggest that introducing novelty, learning new skills, or changing routines can stretch our sense of time again, adding depth and presence to everyday life. In this way, time behaves less like a clock and more like a living instrument, expanding and contracting with the rhythm of experience. Memory itself is not as permanent as it feels. Scientists have discovered that memories can be weakened or altered during a process known as reconsolidation, the moment when a memory is recalled and then stored again. In animal studies, researchers have successfully disrupted this process, reducing the strength or emotional charge of specific memories. Early research in humans explores whether this approach could one day help ease traumatic memories. Yet the idea raises profound questions. If painful memories can be softened or erased, what happens to the experiences that shape identity? These findings remind us that memory is not a fixed recording, but a living structure, one that can be reshaped under certain conditions. The brain can also create memories that feel entirely real, but never actually happened. These false memories can carry vivid details, strong emotions, and complete confidence. Experiments have shown that suggestion imagination or repeated storytelling can lead people to remember events that never occurred. Because the brain reconstructs memories each time they are recalled, they are subtly rewritten over time. This flexibility allows memories to remain useful, but it also opens the door to distortion. What we remember is not a perfect archive of the past, but a narrative continually revised by the mind. Even what we see is partly an illusion. Each of us has a blind spot in our vision where the optic nerve meets the retina, yet we are unaware of it. The brain automatically fills in this missing information using surrounding patterns and context. This process happens constantly, smoothing over gaps caused by blinking shadows or brief interruptions. Most of the time, the result feels seamless, but it means that vision is not a direct window onto reality. It is a carefully edited version assembled by the brain to feel complete and continuous. We experience not raw input, but a refined interpretation of the world. Certain sounds can cut through this constructed reality instantly. Hearing your own name, even in a noisy environment, often grabs attention without an effort. This phenomenon, known as the cocktail party effect, reveals how deeply personal information is prioritized by the brain. Neuroimaging studies show that hearing one's own name activates regions linked to self awareness and identity. Your name acts like a quiet signal flare, alerting the mind that something important is happening. It is a reminder that beneath the flow of sound and sensation, the brain is constantly listening for what matters most to you. That response happens instantly and often carries emotion because a name is closely tied to identity and belonging. Over thousands of years, being able to recognize when someone was calling to you could mean danger, safety, or an important message meant only for you. Even when spoken softly or from across a crowded space, your name can slip past layers of distraction and gently pull your attention back to the present. It acts like a thin thread linking you to the world around you, quietly reminding the mind this moment matters. Much of our thinking operates below awareness, and this is where biases often take shape. Bias does not always come from intention or belief. It can arise from the brain's habit of sorting information quickly forming automatic associations based on past experience, culture, or repeated exposure. These implicit biases can influence judgments and decisions even in people who consciously value fairness. Research shows that such patterns can persist quietly, shaping reactions before reasoning has time to intervene. Yet awareness changes the dynamic. By slowing our responses, seeking different viewpoints, and questioning first impressions, we can soften the pull of these hidden habits. The current may still be there, beneath the surface, but once it's visible, we gain the ability to steer rather than drift. Social influence reaches even deeper. Human beings are wired to belong, and the opinions of those around us can shape our own sometimes without evidence or reflection. In well known psychological studies, individuals have agreed with clearly incorrect answers simply because everyone else in the group did the same. This tendency toward conformity grows stronger when uncertainty is high or when disagreement risks isolation. Shared agreement can create harmony, but it can also dull independent judgment. Recognizing this pull allows a moment to ask whether a belief is grounded in truth or merely echoed from the crowd. At times, the most meaningful independence is quiet, choosing not to follow the group when inner knowing points elsewhere. And then there is sleep, a state that appears passive but is anything but. While the body rests, the brain remains active, sorting memories, strengthening connections, and weaving ideas together in new ways. Problems that felt tangled during the day can loosen overnight. Solutions arrive unexpectedly in dreams or in the calm clarity of morning. During sleep, especially in deeper stages, the mind is less constrained by linear logic, allowing distant ideas to connect. Throughout history, artists, scientists, and thinkers have credited sleep with moments of insight they could not reach while awake. Rest is not the absence of thought. It is the mind working quietly in the background, preparing understanding to surface when we are ready to receive it. Teaching someone else is one of the most powerful ways to make knowledge stay. When you explain an idea, the brain is forced to actively retrieve information rather than simply recognize it. This act of recall strengthens neural connections, making the memory more stable over time. Explaining also exposes what you don't fully understand, yet gently guiding the mind to fill in the gaps. Even casual moments like telling a friend about something interesting you learned can reinforce memory. Psychologists call this the protege effect. It's why people who teach often develop a deeper, more flexible understanding. In sharing knowledge, it shifts from something you hold briefly to something that becomes woven into how you think. Small, repetitive movements can also support focus. Doodling, often mistaken for distraction, can actually help attention stay present. Research has shown that people who lightly doodle while listening to something unengaging remember more than those who sit perfectly still. A simple pattern or shape can occupy spare mental energy, preventing the mind from drifting too far. It acts like a soft anchor, keeping awareness gently tethered to the moment. For some, the quiet movement of pen on paper helps thoughts settle, allowing information to pass through more clearly. The body, in subtle ways, can influence emotion. Smiling is one example. Even when it doesn't come naturally, forming a smile can send signals back to the brain that trigger the release of chemicals linked to improved mood. This feedback loop shows that expression and emotion flow in both directions. While a smile can't erase deeper stress, it can create a slight lift, a small shift toward ease. It's a reminder that the body and mind are in constant dialogue, and sometimes a physical change can gently guide emotional state. Taste itself is more complex than it seems. The tongue can only sense a handful of basic tastes, but what we experience as flavor comes largely from smell. Aromas travel directly to brain regions involved in memory and emotion blending with taste into a single experience. This is why food loses much of its richness when the nose is blocked, and why certain flavors can instantly bring back vivid memories. Eating is not just about nourishment, it's a quiet collaboration between senses, memory, and feeling. How we learn also shapes how well we remember. Information absorbed slowly over time tends to last longer than material crammed into a single session. This is known as the spacing effect. By revisiting ideas across days or weeks, the brain strengthens connections with each return. Learning becomes less about force and more about rhythm. Like footsteps along a familiar path, spaced repetition allows knowledge to settle naturally, remaining accessible long after the moment of study has passed. This happens because each return to the information strengthens the memory, while the pause between sessions allows just enough forgetting to occur. That small gap is important. It forces the brain to work a little harder to retrieve what was learned, and that effort is what deepens the neural trace. Over time, the memory becomes more resilient. Whether you are learning a new language, practicing an instrument, or trying to remember names, spacing practice turns fragile impressions into long lasting knowledge. It's the difference between a mark that washes away and one that slowly settles into permanence. Your brain can also begin making choices before you become aware of them. Brain imaging studies have shown that patterns of neural activity can predict a decision seconds before a person consciously reports choosing. This suggests that many decisions start beneath awareness, with consciousness arriving slightly later to interpret and claim them. This doesn't erase free will, but it does reveal that choice is a layered process. Much like an ocean, the visible surface of thought is shaped by deep currents moving quietly below. Some minds blend the senses in unusual ways. For people with synesthesia, sound may automatically evoke color. A voice might appear tinted with a particular shade, or a musical note might burst into color as clearly as a visual image. These associations are stable and personal, often present from early childhood. Neuroscientists believe this happens because certain brain regions remain more tightly connected than usual, allowing sensory experiences to overlap. While rare synesthesia offers a glimpse into how flexible perception can be. In these minds, music is not only heard, it unfolds visually, like light moving through sound. Human memory also shows a strong preference for social information. Stories about what others do, especially actions that signal trust or risk, tend to linger longer than neutral facts. This likely traces back to evolution, when remembering who cooperated and who didn't could determine its survival. Even now, information about behavior activates social reasoning networks in the brain, making it easier to recall. While gossip can be harmful, when misused, its memorability reflects how deeply tuned we are to social dynamics. The stories we remember and repeat quietly shape the bonds within groups. Changing how you view a situation can also soften stress. When the mind shifts perspective, seeing a challenge as temporary, manageable, or meaningful, the body often responds by easing tension. Psychologists describe this as cognitive reappraisal, the practice of reframing events in a way that reduces emotional strain. Rather than altering reality, it changes the lens through which reality is interpreted. This subtle shift can lower stress responses, slow the heart rate, and bring a sense of steadiness back to the nervous system. Sometimes relief doesn't come from changing what happens, but from gently changing how the mind holds it. When we change the way we interpret a stressful event, its emotional weight often softens. Psychologists refer to this as cognitive reappraisal. Rather than altering what happened, the mind gently changes the story it tells about the experience. Seeing a difficulty as a lesson instead of a threat can reduce anxiety and open space for clearer thinking. Brain imaging shows that this shift engages the prefrontal cortex, the region involved in reasoning and regulation, which in turn calms activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. The challenge remains, but our relationship to it changes. With practice, this habit can make the mind more flexible and resilient, allowing stress to become guidance rather than opposition. Creativity can also emerge when the mind is slightly tired. While deep exhaustion dulls thinking, mild fatigue can loosen mental boundaries. In this state, the brain becomes less strict about filtering ideas, allowing unexpected connections to surface. This can be helpful for creative tasks like brainstorming, writing, or solving problems in unconventional ways. Psychologists suggest that when control relaxes just a little, imagination has more room to roam. This may explain why insights often arrive late at night or in the early morning when thoughts drift more freely and the mind wanders into new territory. Our opinions, too, are shaped quietly by those around us. Being part of a group can subtly influence what we think and say, sometimes more than we realize. The pull toward agreement, known as conformity, can lead people to align with group views even when those views conflict with personal judgment. This tendency helps maintain social harmony, but it can also silence originality and dissent. Becoming aware of this influence creates a moment, to ask whether agreement reflects genuine belief or the desire to belong. In that pause, personal clarity has space to return. Positive words carry surprising power. When someone receives a sincere compliment, the brain's reward systems activate in ways similar to tangible rewards. Dopamine is released, lifting mood and increasing motivation. Encouragement doesn't just feel good, it can enhance learning, improve performance, and strengthen relationships. Even brief acknowledgments can have lasting effects because praise communicates recognition. In that moment, a person feels seen, and that sense of being valued can echo quietly long after the words have faded. The mind is also capable of simulating sensations it has never experienced, just as imagination can recreate sights and sounds. It can generate the feeling of pain without physical cause. Reading vivid descriptions, witnessing another's discomfort, or anticipating injury can activate pain related regions in the brain. This ability reflects how closely perception and imagination are intertwined. The brain does not always distinguish sharply between direct experience and mental simulation. While this can intensify fear or empathy, it also reveals the mind's extraordinary capacity to construct reality from thought alone. Simply observing someone else in pain or even reading a detailed description of injury can activate many of the same brain regions involved when we experience pain ourselves. This shared neural response is thought to be an evolutionary adaptation that deepens empathy. By internally simulating another person's suffering, the brain helps us recognize danger and respond with care. Although imagined pain is usually less intense than physical injury, the overlap is strong enough to make us flinch or feel uneasy on behalf of someone else. This same mechanism explains why fear and anxiety can arise from anticipated pain. Long before anything actually happens, the mind may already be reacting, shaping decisions and avoidance based on what it expects might hurt. Sleep plays a crucial role in whether memories are kept or quietly lost. When we sleep, especially during deep and REM stages, the brain actively organizes the day's experiences. The hippocampus acts as a temporary librarian, transferring important information into long term storage. Without adequate sleep, this process breaks down. New memories struggle to take hold. Learning becomes fragile and recall weakens. Even one night of poor sleep can interfere with attention and memory the next day. Over longer periods, chronic sleep deprivation can gradually erode cognitive clarity. Rest is not a pause from growth. It is the hidden workshop where learning is preserved. Without it, the moments of our lives slip away before they can fully settle. Repetition has a quiet influence on belief. The brain tends to trust what feels familiar, a bias known as the illusory truth effect. When we hear the same statement again and again, it begins to feel true, even if it isn't. This shortcut once helped humans learn reliable patterns in their environment. Today, it can leave us vulnerable to misinformation. Familiarity creates comfort, and comfort can be mistaken for accuracy. Recognizing this tendency gives us a chance to slow down, question repetition, and look for evidence rather than echoes. In an age of constant information, awareness becomes a form of mental protection. Faces hold a special place in the human brain. Specialized networks allow us to recognize faces, rapidly interpret emotions, and notice subtle changes in expression. This system works so efficiently that we often identify a person before recalling their name. It also explains why we see faces in clouds, shadows, and patterns. The brain is always scanning for them. This sensitivity reflects our social evolution. For much of human history, survival depended on reading faces, quickly sensing trust, threat, or intention at a glance. Even now, long before words are spoken, Faces quietly shape our understanding of one another. Looking forward to something often brings its own kind of happiness. Anticipation can be surprisingly powerful, sometimes even more pleasurable than the event itself. Imagining a future moment allows the mind to smooth away uncertainty and create an ideal version of what's to come. This mental preview can lift mood, increase motivation, and provide comfort during difficult days. When the moment finally arrives, reality may differ from expectation, but the joy of anticipation has already done its work. It stretches happiness across time, allowing us to experience pleasure not just in the present, but in the promise of what lies ahead. Our brains also form impressions of faces almost instantly. In a fraction of a second, neural systems evaluate features and generate judgments about trust, warmth, or competence. These snap impressions arise from ancient survival mechanisms designed to assess others quickly. While they can be surprisingly consistent, they are not always accurate. Past experiences, cultural influences, and unconscious biases all shape what we see in that first blink. These rapid judgments remind us that perception is fast, automatic, and deeply rooted, but also imperfect. Awareness of this speed gives us the chance to slow down, allowing understanding to catch up with instinct. This rapid form of evaluation relies heavily on the amygdala and related brain regions that specialize in reading social signals, sensing familiarity, and estimating trust. Because these judgments happen before deliberate reasoning has time to engage, they often feel instinctive, like a quiet inner knowing rather than a thought you can explain. This speed can be helpful, allowing us to recognize friends or sense danger quickly, but it can also carry hidden biases shaped by past experiences and culture. Becoming aware of how fast these impressions form gives us the chance to slow down, letting more thoughtful understanding emerge. In a single blink, the mind draws an outline, but it takes time to fill in the true details. Smell can shape your emotional state without ever entering conscious awareness. Scents travel directly to the limbic system, the part of the brain involved in emotion and memory, bypassing areas responsible for logical analysis. Because of this shortcut, a subtle fragrance can influence mood almost instantly. A trace of lavender may promote calm, while citrus can create a sense of alertness and clarity. These effects are gentle, yet persistent, forming an emotional background that colors how a moment feels. As we move through rooms, streets, and natural spaces, the air itself carries quiet messages, constantly adjusting the mind's internal climate. Sound also has the power to trigger physical reactions in the body. A soft rhythm can slow breathing and ease muscle tension, while a sudden sharp noise can raise heart rate in an instant. This happens because sound is processed not only by the auditory system, but also by brain networks connected to emotion, movement, and memory. Certain tones can produce tingling sensations or deep relaxation, while others provoke discomfort or alertness. These responses are rooted in ancient survival mechanisms, where reacting quickly to sound could mean safety. Even now, music, voices, and background noise subtly guide the body's rhythms, often without us noticing. The way the mind approaches problem solving can change depending on whether we are alone or with others. When working alone, people often think more deeply and independently, free from social influence. Brain activity during solitary problem solving tends to show stronger engagement in areas linked to introspection and mental imagery, allowing original ideas to emerge. Group settings, by contrast, can energize thinking and spark idea exchange, but they also increase the risk of conformity. Understanding when to seek solitude and when to collaborate allows us to draw from the strengths of both modes, balancing independence with connection. Emotion plays a powerful role in shaping memory. Experiences charged with strong feeling are more likely to be remembered because emotional arousal signals the brain to treat the moment as important. The amygdala communicates with the hippocampus, strengthening the storage of these memories. This is why people often remember where they were and how they felt during significant life events even years later. While emotion sharpens memory for the core experience, it can blur smaller details. The feeling remains vivid even as the surrounding facts soften. These memories become part of the emotional framework of our lives, moments marked by intensity and meaning. People also tend to be more persuasive when they subtly mirror others. Matching posture, gestures, or expressions in a natural way can create a sense of harmony and understanding. This nonverbal alignment communicates attentiveness and shared perspective, often without conscious awareness. In conversations, negotiations, or everyday interactions, mirroring can make others feel seen, increasing openness to ideas. The key is subtlety. When imitation feels forced, it can create discomfort. When it arises naturally, it becomes a quiet signal of connection, easing communication and strengthening rapport. At its most genuine, mirroring is simply an expression of empathy. It is a quiet alignment between two people where the body reflects what words are trying to convey, reinforcing connection without effort or intention. Beneath conscious awareness, our nervous systems subtly adjust to one another, creating a sense of ease and understanding that feels natural rather than forced. The brain itself remains remarkably flexible throughout life. Through a process known as neuroplasticity, it continually adapts in response to learning experience and even injury. New neural connections form, while others strengthen or weaken, depending on how often they are used. Although this adaptability is strongest in childhood, it never truly disappears. It allows adults to learn new skills, recover after injury, and gradually reshape habits over time. Every experience, from practicing a craft to meeting someone new, leaves a small imprint on the brain's structure. In this way, we are constantly shaping our own minds moment by moment, often without realizing it. Our perception of time is also far from fixed. Under intense emotion, time can stretch or collapse in surprising ways. During moments of fear or danger, the brain absorbs more sensory information, making those moments feel longer when we look back on them. In contrast, periods of deep joy, focus, or immersion can seem to pass almost instantly. This flexibility in time perception reflects the brain's ability to adapt to significance, slowing things down when attention is needed and letting them blur when we are fully absorbed. It explains why a few seconds of panic can feel endless, while an evening of laughter can vanish in what feels like a breath. Despite all that science has uncovered, the mind still holds many mysteries. Questions about consciousness, memory, emotion, and awareness remain open even after decades of research. Each discovery reveals new layers of complexity rather than simple answers. The mind is not merely a set of mechanical processes. It is a living system where thoughts, feelings, memories, and dreams continuously interact. In studying it, we are not only exploring biology, but also deepening our understanding of what it means to be human. And so our journey through the mind comes gently to a close. We have wandered through memory and perception, followed the rhythms of thought, and paused at the edges of what is known. Each idea has been a small point of light in a vast inner landscape, reminding us that even in stillness, the mind remains active, subtle, and full of quiet wonder. Some of these ideas may stay with you for a while. Others may already be fading into the soft blur of rest. That is perfectly enough. You don't need to hold on to every detail. The mystery will still be there tomorrow, waiting patiently. If you find yourself still awake, you may continue on to the next video whenever you like. And if your eyes are growing heavy, you can simply let go, allowing your thoughts to drift and settle on their own. Sleep well and good night.